Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we plunge right into that stack of articles, research you've shared with us. We pull out the vital insights, give you that shortcut, really, to being truly well-informed. Today, our mission, well, it's to cut through all the noise in the, let's face it, pretty dynamic and often dizzying world of tech and AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've gathered some really compelling insights, sources like the TLDR newsletters, TechCrunch updates, specifically looking at things from around July 2nd, 2025. Our aim today is, well, to shed light on the trends that really matter. Everything from these huge AI investments to shifts in EV production and, new challenges popping up in data security, even how software gets made.
Exactly. So you're about to get a clear picture of the stories that are really making waves right now and hopefully understand, their broader implications. This deep dive, it's tailored for you. We're ready to unpack it. Okay, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So the first thing that it leaps out from this week's reports is the money. The just astonishing amount of money flooding into AI. I mean, specifically Elon Musk's XAI. It just secured a staggering $10 billion. And that's a mix of debt and equity.
10 million.
It's not just a big number, right? It's
Yeah.
astronomical.
It really is. And what's fascinating here isn't just the number itself, but what it actually lets them do. This capital gives XAI, immense firepower, not just for R&D, but for the actual infrastructure. Get this, they've already put in 200,000 GPUs at their Colossus facility in Memphis.
200,000, okay. And GPUs, just remind us, those are the key chips, right? The engines for AI.
Exactly. Graphics processing units,
Yeah.
They provide that massive computational power you need to train these huge language models. And they're not stopping there. They're planning an even bigger facility, aiming for 1 million GPUs just outside Memphis.
1 million, wow.
Yeah, this isn't just, adding capacity. It feels like a really strategic move to potentially dominate that foundational model space.
So with that kind of cash, that kind of hardware, does it fundamentally change the game for the big players? OpenAI, Meta. Are we looking at a new kind of arms race here for talent and just sheer compute power?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this investment, it immediately jacks up the barrier to entry for anyone smaller, and it could really accelerate the timeline for, next-gen AI capabilities across the board. We're already seeing really intense competition, even in how they're trying to get talent. OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, he recently talked about Meta's AI talent poaching spree, and he didn't really mince words.
Oh, what did he say?
He kind of dismissed their recruiting efforts, said something like missionaries will beat mercenaries.
Missionaries versus mercenaries, okay.
Yeah, and claimed Meta had to go quite far down the list to actually hire people away from OpenAI.
Huh. That's a strong statement. Does that really capture the heart of the talent war, or is it, still mostly about who has the deepest pockets?
Well, it probably speaks to both, right? Altman's comment suggests that, the motivation of people building this stuff, that deep intrinsic drive, will ultimately win out over just chasing the highest salary. It kind of highlights this philosophical battle for the industry's soul, maybe. But let's be real. Resources are absolutely critical.
Right. You need both.
Definitely. And this whole dynamic, it's not just a U.S. thing. If we zoom out and look bigger picture, we're clearly seeing a global AI race heating up. Companies, organizations all over Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, they're increasingly looking at large language models from Chinese companies as real alternatives to the U.S. ones.
That's interesting, a significant shift.
Yes.
Because we usually think of the U.S. as leading the charge. What makes the Chinese model suddenly so compelling?
Well, a couple of things. What's compelling is that Chinese companies like Huawei, for example, they're offering performance that's getting really close to their U.S. competitors, nearly as good sometimes. But, and this is key, at vastly lower prices.
The price factor.
Exactly. And what's maybe even more impactful, many leading Chinese AI firms have actually open-sourced their models.
Open source them so anyone can use and modify them.
Pretty much, yeah. This isn't just about pricing anymore. It feels like a strategic chess game. By open-sourcing competitive models, these Chinese firms could potentially build a whole global ecosystem around their tech that directly challenges the U.S.'s, sort of de facto leadership.
So that could force U.S. companies to rethink their whole strategy, right? Keep models private and charge premiums, or open up more to compete long-term?
Precisely. It forces a choice. Short-term profits versus long-term market share and influence. It really could redefine the global AI power balance down the line.
Okay, so these massive investments are pouring in. It's natural to wonder, where is this actually showing up, in the real world? Let's pivot a bit from the funding wars to the actual applications, the stuff that's changing how we work, how we live. One thing that surprised me was Grammarly acquiring Superhuman. I mean, Grammarly, I think grammar checks. This is something else, isn't it?
Oh, far from just grammar checks now. Yeah. This move, it's really aimed at embedding AI-native email capabilities right into what Grammarly does. Think about this. Superhuman users, apparently, are already sending and responding to 72% more emails per hour using AI assistance.
72%, that's a huge jump in productivity.
It's dramatic, yeah, a tangible increase. And Grammarly's vision seems to be creating this new way of working where AI agents actually collaborate across different communication tools, with email sort of being the hub for this multi-agent help.
72% more emails. It almost makes you wonder, are we getting more efficient or just generating more email traffic? It's kind of a paradox, maybe.
That's a fair point. Maybe a bit of both.
But it's not just email, right? This is where it gets, for me, really interesting. Amazon. They've launched a new AI foundation model specifically to optimize their warehouse robotics. And they just hit this milestone of deploying 1 million robots.
1 million robots.
Optimized by AI. The scale is just, it's almost mind-boggling.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
And that new AI model, apparently it improves efficiency in their warehouses by about 10%.
Okay.
Which directly helps them deliver stuff faster to customers.
Yeah.
It really shows AI moving beyond just software apps. It's getting into tangible physical operations at enormous scale.
Right. Not just bits and bytes, but atoms and, well, robots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this also raises that important question, how is AI going to keep integrating into and really transforming the physical infrastructure of entire industries?
Yeah.
Not just the digital side. It promises incredible efficiency, sure, but it definitely opens up those conversations about, well, the future of human jobs in those areas and the ethics of having AI control so much physical stuff.
Yeah, definitely big questions there. And it's not just productivity or logistics. AI is even like building itself now. I saw this fascinating concept mentioned, context engineering realized with something called the context window architecture. What does that actually mean for someone like me? I follow this stuff, but I'm not an AI engineer.
Right, that's a great question because it really points to a pretty fundamental shift in how software might be developed. Think of context engineering as trying to bring a more structured engineering-like discipline to how we interact with these large language models, these LLMs, how we build the prompts. See, historically, LLMs have limitations. Things like statelessness, meaning they don't really remember past interactions consistently.
Right, they forget stuff.
Yeah, or cognitive fallibility, their tendency to hallucinate or just make things up.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
And ad hoc prompting just means there hasn't been a standard, reliable way to guide them. Context engineering tries to fix these by giving them a more consistent memory and clearer, more structured instructions.
Okay, so it's about making LMs more reliable, more consistent, like giving them a better rule book to operate within.
Exactly that, precisely. Yeah. And this concept, it's part of this bigger idea of building a personal AI factory. The ultimate goal here is, well, to create a sort of factory of AI agents that can actually produce code, check that code for errors, and then improve themselves over time.
Improve themselves. Wow.
Yeah. There's an astonishing example mentioned, a macOS app called Context. Apparently, it was built almost entirely by Claude Code.
Claude Code, the AI.
The AI. Out of something like 20,000 lines of code, less than 1,000 were written by a human hand.
That's incredible. So what does the human developer do then?
Well, the core idea, the insight, is that software development itself is shifting. From developers primarily writing code to developers managing AI agents that write code.
So the developer becomes more like an architect, defining goals, setting up feedback, curating the context for these AI systems.
That's a great way to put it. Architects of AI collaboration. That's a fundamental redefinition of the developer's role. It challenges, a lot of assumptions about how software gets built.
Yeah, it really does. It makes you rethink the whole process.
Absolutely. The thinking is that future IDEs, the integrated development environments, basically the digital workshops programmers use, they'll evolve. Their main job will become helping developers guide and manage these AI agents, setting up those crucial feedback loops so the agents can succeed with really complex tasks.
Amazing. Okay, so from AI writing code and running warehouses, let's shift again. How are these systems speeding up discovery in completely different fields, like medicine? The biotech breakthroughs we're seeing, even if not always directly AI-driven, they seem to benefit from this same advanced computational thinking, right? Like Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine, it just sailed through trials, beat the standard shots, 27% more effective in a huge study.
Right, nearly 41,000 people aged 50 plus. That Moderna success, it really highlights the power of advanced biotech to develop solutions incredibly fast. And then on the direct AI side of drug discovery, you've got companies like Chai Discovery. They're using AI to basically cut straight to viable drug candidates by designing them computationally.
So instead of screening millions of possibilities.
Exactly. Traditionally, finding antibodies, for example, means screening these massive libraries for months. It's largely a numbers game, very hit or miss.
Oh.
Chai's AI, though, is achieving reported success rates of 16% and finding working antibodies for half the targets they try, with just 20 attempts each.
16% success, only 20 attempts. That's a huge leap in efficiency.
At a dramatic increase, yeah. In efficiency and speed for pharma development. It could potentially shave years off the drug discovery process.
Okay, so AI is clearly booming, transforming industries left and right. But other parts of the tech world seem to be facing some headwinds, or at least some recalibration. Let's look at electric vehicles for a minute. Tesla, their deliveries continue to fall in the second quarter. That signals a potential decline compared to 2024 overall. And that's kind of a big deal for a company that for years was touting these 50% year-over-year increases in deliveries.
Yeah, that narrative has definitely shifted.
Right.
And Tesla isn't alone here. Rivian's Q2 sales numbers also dropped 23% from a year earlier, partly blamed on tariffs, apparently.
Right.
However, on a more positive note, maybe, for Tesla's long-term game, they claim their LFP battery factory in Nevada is almost ready.
LFP, that's the lithium iron phosphate, the cheaper battery chemistry.
Exactly. Cheaper, more stable, longer cycle life, though less energy dense. They aim to produce about 10 gigawatt of these cells per year. To put that in perspective, that's enough for hundreds of thousands of their lower-cost EVs. It's crucial for their cost control and self-sufficiency, vertical integration.
Makes sense. Control the core component.
Right. But also worth noting, even Tesla's energy storage business, the Megapack stuff, which was a bright spot, that's seen deployments decline for the second quarter in a row, too. So challenges across the board there.
Okay, so a mixed bag in EVs. Challenges, but also strategic moves. What about other tech giants? Figma, the design software company, they're heading for a massive IPO, right? Could raise as much as $1.5 billion. Trading on the NYSE as IG. That seems like a huge vote of confidence.
Oh, definitely. Figma's IPO looks like a strong signal. The market still has appetite for really strong, innovative software companies. But for other giants, yeah, the picture's more complex. Look at Google. Their data centers, the energy use has more than doubled in just 4 years.
Doubled. Wow. Because of AI.
Largely driven by AI, yeah.
Yeah.
And while they have this goal, this stated goal, to use only carbon-free energy sources, it's proving to be a really serious challenge, especially with how many new data centers they keep building globally to power all this stuff.
Right, the energy demands are just soaring.
They really are. And meanwhile, you have Microsoft planning layoffs. 9,000 employees, about 4% of their global workforce. They say it's about paring down management layers, trying to boost efficiency. These are pretty significant moves. It suggests a broader tech recalibration is underway.
Yeah, trimming the fat maybe after years of growth. Okay, finally, let's touch on some interesting and maybe challenging developments around data, AI ethics, that sort of thing. Cloudflare is experimenting with this new feature, Paper Crawl. It lets content creators actually charge AI crawlers a fee to scrape their websites. Or, well, to stop them scraping.
Yeah, essentially pay not to scrape.
Right. That sounds potentially powerful for creators, doesn't it?
It absolutely could be. It really raises that important question. How will content creators actually control and maybe monetize their own data in this age of generative AI, especially when so much value is being extracted from their work to train these huge models?
Yeah, who owns the training data, essentially?
Exactly. And then you've got X, formerly Twitter. They're piloting a program, letting AI chatbots generate community notes.
Yeah.
The fact-checking thing.
AI writing fact checks. Uh-oh.
Well, they say these AI-generated notes will go through the same human vetting process as usual. But still, the very idea of bots contributing to fact-checking, it inherently brings in that risk of AI hallucinations, right? Where the AI just makes stuff up.
Yeah, that feels like a slippery slope for trust and accuracy online.
It's definitely a concern. And unfortunately, sort of unrelated but always relevant, data breaches are still a constant worry. Qantas, the Australian airline, just had a hack. Data stolen from at least 6 million passengers. It's just a stark reminder, isn't it, of the ongoing security challenges in our super digital world.
Wow. Okay, what an incredibly packed deep dive that was. I mean, we've seen AI powering these huge funding rounds, transforming productivity, science, global competition, just at an incredible pace. Yet it's all happening against this backdrop of, shaky markets for things like EVs, broader tech recalibration, layoffs, plus these really new, really complex ethical and operational challenges popping up.
Yeah, if you connect all those dots, it just underscores this rapid, almost chaotic, multifaceted evolution of technology right now. Knowledge is definitely key. Understanding these interconnections, from the strategy behind a $10 billion investment to the nuances of AI writing its own software or these battles over data control, it's just essential if you want to navigate what's coming.
Absolutely. So here's maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Given just how fast AI is weaving itself into everything, designing drugs, writing social media posts, coding apps, running warehouses, how do you think society should best prepare? Prepare for a future where AI systems aren't just helping humans, but are increasingly interacting, maybe even collaborating autonomously with each other. That feels like the next fascinating frontier.
Definitely something to think about.
That's all for this deep dive. We really hope you feel more informed, maybe a bit more intrigued by these powerful currents shaping our technological future. Join us next time for another deep dive into the sources that matter.